Whenever I see pictures of Ben Affleck standing by the side of the road, I think, oh, I know exactly how you're feeling.
Specifically, in your 47.2 year is when you're statistically unhappiest.
Don't be vulnerable. We don't want to hear that. How can you connect if you're just on this surface level? And emotions are chemical messengers, aren't they? They're telling us something about our environment and our place in it, what's working, what isn't. Grab a backpack and go away.
Marny, welcome to the podcast. So glad you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I read this book, Crisis to Contentment, last year. You can see how dog-eared and earmarked it is.
It's very dog-eared. You've damaged it a bit.
That's right. I read it late at night. But your books are very funny. They're very, very helpful, I have to say.
Excellent.
But then I read a quote that said, she was once so camera shy, she hid in the closet to do her radio interviews. But now she's become such a natural communicator that she consistently makes complex psychology accessible without dumbing it down. I thought, I need a woman like that in this show to help me understand it. So, what will our audience get from our conversation today, do you think?
Just the trials and tribulations of us humans, and learning that, you know, if anyone's going through something that we talk about today, they're certainly not alone. And in fact, I've probably experienced some of it.
Yourself?
Yes.
As have I. We might turn this into a mutual session for each other.
We might.
You wrote in your last book, Crisis to Contentment, that you were going through your own midlife fog when you decided you might write about it. And you describe, you turned yourself into a grumpy version of Ben Affleck.
Yes.
Now, we know there's a cliche about grumpy old men, but I haven't heard a woman in a book say she's a grumpy version of Ben Affleck before, and that really grabbed my attention. What were you seriously meaning by the grumpy version of Ben Affleck?
Oh, whenever I see pictures of Ben Affleck standing by the side of the road with a cigarette in his hand and he's rolling his eyes up at the sky, I think, oh, I know exactly how you're feeling. And I think probably in the last few years, well into my 40s, I was just finding that I was probably a little bit more tired than I usually was, a little bit more irritated, not only at people around me, but just the world in general. Yeah. And I just felt like I had so much on my plate, and I thought, oh, is this it? When's this going to get easier? So it was that kind of feeling that I think a lot of probably middle-aged people feel, and certainly the clients that I've worked with over the years feel exactly that way as well.
When you and I spoke a few weeks ago, you said to me one of your favourite client types are grumpy men.
Yes, I love a grumpy man.
Why is that?
Well, when we think of like an opposite of a grumpy man, the kind of slimy ones full of charisma, are a little too nice, I think, ooh, something's not right here. Yeah. Well, what's going on that I'm not actually seeing? So when a grumpy man is kind of presented to me either as a client or in a workplace that I'm working in, I thought, oh, he's in touch with his emotions. And I often think, oh, there's so much behind that. There's a whole story behind this dude, and I'd love to have a good chat with him.
You reference research in your book, which a lot of people may not be aware of, and that's the kind of the U shape of contentment and happiness. Yes. And you said that you said specifically in your 47.2 year is when you're statistically unhappiest.
Yes.
It's a fascinating piece of study, isn't it?
It is, and in fact, it's Professor David Blanchflower who, came up with this. He looked at 500,000 pieces of data in this research that he looked at like 132 countries. So it's a global issue.
Huge, yeah.
That there's a U-shaped unhappiness curve, and the time that I was feeling like grumpy Ben Affleck, I was actually flicking through my phone, just reading articles, and I was around 47.2 when I was feeling like this. And I came across these articles, and then I looked more into it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a thing. A lot of people are feeling like this. And I think, for your listeners who are around 47.2, they've probably got a lot on their plate as a midlifer, and they're trying to juggle it all and feeling a little bit more, I guess, in discontent than they were probably a decade or two before.
What struck me when I first came across that, and indeed I've used that curve in my own sessions with people, to help them understand, hey, you're 43.
Yes.
It's going to get worse. But here's why it's so useful, because as you quite rightly said, like kind of that mid-30s to mid-40s, your career's getting busier, you're potentially getting promoted, therefore taking on more complexity or bigger roles. Your kids are probably now hitting teenage years. Your relationship might be rocky, or you might be separating.
Yes.
Your parents might be getting ill. There's a whole lot of stuff happening.
There's so much.
All at once.
It is.
and your mortgage is pretty high.
Exactly, exactly.
So it's no wonder the discontent is so high.
Exactly. And we live in this world now where the global crises are at our fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to, in the past when world events were happening, we were able to kind of separate ourselves a little bit, from it, or we got the news, like a week after it actually happened. But now, not only are we've got all the things on our own plate, but we're watching the world play out like it is. So we're reacting emotionally to that as well. And because we're so busy, we tend to bottle it all up.
So go back to grumpy.
Yes.
You said it's an honest emotion, which
Yes.
by the way, I completely agree. I keep telling my kids, I'm very, very honest. They go, no, you're just grumpy. What is it when a man walks into your clinic to meet with you, or your room to meet with you? What are they typically presenting with that might look like grumpiness? What's sitting beneath that?
Yeah, probably a decade or so ago when I wasn't writing books and when I wasn't in the media, a man would come into my clinic and he would not have come off his own back. He would have been sent probably by his GP or his partner.
Okay.
Because he was angry, he wasn't sleeping much, he was withdrawing. But nowadays, I think because I write and have written columns in the newspapers, men have resonated with some of the things that I talk about and said, hey, that's me.
Yeah.
Slothing in front of the TV when I get home from work and not wanting to talk to people, not sleeping at all, scrolling on my phone for endless hours, drinking way too much, not wanting to see my friends anymore, just wondering what's this all about.
Yeah.
So I think talking about the different things that I've seen in men have given kind of a moment of self-awareness and reflection. And so that's what I see now is more men saying, hey, I need to work on myself because I'm at that point now where I need to do something. I'm not, who even am I anymore?
How much is that society, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really common.
And the reason why I ask you that is we've had on this podcast, we've had folks from the Men's Table organisation, we've had folks from Mongrels Men organisation, we've had folks from Just One Reason organisation. And what I'm noticing, it's just quietly happening, but there's a systemically changing level of men tapping into their own anxiety going, I want to do something about this.
Yes.
And I'm sure I'm not unique. So where do I go and figure this out?
Exactly.
And it sounds like you're accessing some of that too.
Exactly. And it's getting so much better. I mean, we've got such a long way to go, haven't we, in being more honest and vulnerable about how we're feeling. But I think men have been kind of background. I think women kind of, they sometimes go, yeah, I'm feeling like this, but they feel psychologically safe to talk about it with their friends, or they've got places to go to actually talk about it. Whereas men, in lots of ways, they still have that self-awareness, but for a long time there wasn't anywhere to go, and their best mate certainly wasn't talking about it.
Yeah.
But now we've seen this shift, haven't we, where more men in particular are being more honest and vulnerable and sharing their stories. And once they feel psychologically safe to do so and feel good and feel heard and feel validated, then we're going to see that ripple effect, aren't we, of more people, more men in particular, saying, hey, I feel like this too. That's me, mate.
And the other ripple effect, David Poynton, who's the CEO of Men's Table, he said to us recently, the ripple effect back to the families is quite extraordinary. They have research that says, and the spouses of men who are taking part in men's tables, which is just a social conversation in a safe place, is my dad or my husband is less angry, less aggressive, and in small cases less violent, because of the fact that they are having a conversation they couldn't have anywhere else.
Well, exactly, yeah. It's nice to see, isn't it? Just men checking in with themselves, sometimes for the first time, because they've never been allowed to or never felt safe enough to, whether it was in their childhood, in their teens or their adulthood up until now. Like, it's so powerful to be able to see.
Your book says crisis to contentment. It's a lovely play on two words, but it's also a big jump.
Yes.
What are some of the conversations you have with your clients to help them identify whatever crisis it is, but more importantly, identify a way out of it?
Yes, I mean, I think we all know the stereotypical notion of a midlife crisis. But so I tried to steer away from the midlife crisis kind of term in the book and say, hey, you know, as adults in that period from like our 20s right until, you know, our later years, there's so many different things that we go through on that life journey of adulthood, and so many trials and tribulations. And we could just say they're mini crises each time. Isn't there, where there's like all these emotions come up for us. We might be angry, we might be confused, we might think, oh, when's this going to end? And it's a very turbulent time, very chaotic mentally for us. And of course, we know that flows onto us physically as well, and, you know, onto other people. So there's so many of these crises points throughout. So, and that's what I see when I have a client that I'm working with. They're coming to me with some sort of presenting issue, and it might be one thing. But as we talk, we're unravelling so much more. And then you get to hear about all the things that are on the plate. So it might be they're coming because there's a relationship issue, or there's a problem at work. I can't sleep at all. You know, my kids tell me I'm angry all the time. You know, those sorts of things are what a lot of men have come to see me for. And burnout has been a big one, particularly of late. I feel like there's a lot of talk of burnout in the last few years. And I think, again, when we see people talking about it more, people go, oh, that's me. So they put their hand up and
what
say,
are the
I feel like
symptoms
that.
people are displaying that when you help them figure it out, burnout is the underlying cause?
Yes. Well, burnout is the physical, mental, emotional and spiritual exhaustion of someone, isn't it? When there's so many demands placed on you, but your internal resources aren't able to cope with them because it's so much. So, you know, it could be anything from just feeling bodily tired to, you know, dragging your body up in the morning and throughout the day, and sleep doesn't help at all. It just continues. Mentally, kind of feeling kind of cynical, you know, the brain fog, you know, just general unhappiness, anxiety, that sort of thing. Emotionally, you know, more angry outbursts, but then sometimes people actually feel that their emotions are just kind of numb completely. So there's a numbness. You know, everything's just kind of almost dumbed down, so they can't even feel what they feel before. And
Good, or like the highs and lows. You can't get either.
It's just kind of hovering there in this kind of ambivalent limbo kind of state. They don't feel because they've felt so much. I can't feel anymore. And then spiritually, what am I even here for? What's this all about? Type of feeling. And I think a lot of people who are burnt out, you know, really kind of have lost themselves and say, I don't even know who I am and what I like, you know, and I feel really disconnected from everyone and everything. And unfortunately, burnout there's such a slow creep to it. It's not like you wake up in the morning and go, oh, I feel burnt out, I think I'll have a day off.
Compared to yesterday, today. Right,
it's not. It's a slow creep. And often people who get burnt out have been so busy for such a long time and have probably, through no fault of their own, been missing those warning signals that their body and their mind have been whispering to them probably for a long time, and then they hit that wall.
What are the first steps you help people to do?
So I say stop. You need to stop. Because having a conversation with someone who's actually burnt out, it's nice to catch people, you know, if they can get the warning signals a little bit earlier, because then you can put things in place. But unfortunately with burnout, a lot of people don't get help until they hit that wall. Then for me to sit there as their mental health professional and say, hey, we could do this and we can do that, and, you know, they don't have the energy.
Yeah, it's too exhausting.
So I'm like, okay, what we're going to do is you just need to stop. You need to take that time off. You need to take all your sick leave. You need to take your annual leave if you've got long service leave, because otherwise they'll quit. You know, because it's huge. Burnout is massive and it impacts not only their work but everything. So I say stop. And you need to take that time. You need to lie in bed. You need to, you know, just watch Netflix all day in your trokey dacks. You just need to do nothing because you need to reset, recharge, relax, rejuvenate, so that we can start then talking about how we redesign what's next for you. Yeah.
My experience has been when you hit that level of despair or indeed overwhelm, you're almost unable to make decisions. In fact, decisions are just exhausting. So you need someone else to step in and go, you need just to stop. And as you said, take 6 weeks and just stop. Because the person themselves is unable to make that decision. It's just too overwhelming for them. Exactly.
You know, when I've talked about burnout before, I've mentioned a lot of the time where I've almost got to that cusp in my own life of being burnt out. And I even remember, you know, and the thing about burnout with making decisions, sometimes you have to make massive life decisions. But I actually remember going into like a shopping centre and trying to find some cereal, and there were so many to choose from. And I was like, I do not have the energy to choose what the best cereal is at the moment. I'm so exhausted and I'm so fogged up in my brain that, there was decision fatigue was, really real back then. So how do we get people who are burnt out to talk about their relationships or communicating at work or, or making reasonable adjustments, with their boss? You can't do that.
You can't do it, no.
No, so
in fact, I would imagine for anyone listening, if they find themselves in a supermarket or at work or the kids at home and you find you just can't make a simple decision like what breakfast am I going to feed the kids, that's a big, big sign.
It is.
That you might be past your own ability to make a decision.
Exactly. I remember when you were in a playground when you were kids and you were playing kind of chasey, and when you got too exhausted and you went, Barley's. Do you remember that? That's what I say to my clients. Like when those warning signals come, you have to press pause. You have to say, Barley's. I'm just going to stop and take that time to just get that energy back. And then that's when, we take those steps and start talking about what's next. And sometimes the beautiful thing about something like burnout is once you get through it and you have chats about what caused it, and what you did to kind of get through it and what your life needs to look like now, it's a massive catalyst for doing life so much better. Isn't it? After it, you don't ever do the things you did before you had burnout. So it is a wake-up call that we didn't think we needed.
I went through a major life change in December 2019 to March 2020, and when I sold the business and then had some time off. Now, when I look back now, I think I was approaching or close to overwhelm or burnout, but I wouldn't have thought at the time. But then, of course, COVID kicked in, right?
Okay.
But because I had sold the business, I had actually a few months off. I ended up sleeping every day for 3 months.
Wow.
Now, no one knew because COVID was there, right? So we were all locked down. I happened to be on the south coast, so it was quite easy.
Yes.
But I look back much later going, if I hadn't taken that time, now I was lucky I was at Ford at the time, but if I hadn't taken that time, I suspect I wouldn't have got back on my feet so quickly. Now, quickly meaning 6 months later. But nonetheless, I used to wake up going, how can I still be tired? I'm just sleeping the whole time. But that forced reason to take time off that allowed me to physically rejuvenate and get rid of whatever the emotions were to allow me to then go, okay, something's got to change here. So I can really relate to what you're saying.
Exactly.
What are some of the shifts you help people to think about after they do the physical recovery, or at least the physical rest, to allow them to consider shifts?
I actually get them to look at what's actually on their plate. We really pick up and pick out all the different parts of their life, what is actually draining their energy. And then also, of course, thinking about what actually gives them their energy. So a lot of it is about that energy management. How does your body physically feel? How does it mentally feel? How does it emotionally feel? And how does it spiritually feel? And then what for each of those different areas, they're parts of the high performance pyramid, aren't they, when we talk about that? What are the things that you could do to actually, put the energy back? And for some, it might be physically, I need to do more exercise to get rid of, the stress at work. It could be things like making sure I have a lunch break, little simple rituals. And that's what we have to be careful of too, is giving people, when you're working with someone, if you're a coach or a psychologist, or giving them too many things to do, but getting them to really think about the little things, the little rituals that they can put in place, or the little conversations that they can have that can actually make a massive difference to not only giving them back energy, but not at all going, I
think that last point's really important, particularly folks who I'm sure you see lots of who are or at least were high performers.
Yes.
And they now feel I should be doing 5 different things.
Exactly.
You're going, no. I want you to come back just to do one thing.
Just one thing. I know, exactly. And And the shoulds are the cognitive distortions, aren't they? They're unhelpful thinking that would fall into kind of the mental kind of category when we think about the high performance pyramid. So we might talk about what we can do physically, but then we go mentally, what's going on in your head?
Yeah.
What is the voice telling you that you should be doing this, or that has to be 100% perfect? Or, where can we play with some of those unhelpful thinking styles that you have? So that's part of it. How do we manage our emotions better? That's another big part of it. Instead of bottling it all up, because we know that a lot of us store our emotions inside of us like a squirrel stores nuts, for the winter, because there's nowhere to go. Like, we just sit in a chemical soup of emotions, and we don't release them. So how can we do that better? If you're feeling stress, you're allowed to feel stress. What can we do with that?
But it starts with stop.
It starts with stop. And then after that, it's, just getting that energy back so that we can have these conversations and put in some of these more healthier rituals and create a life that is way better than it was before you got burnt out.
Can I grab your attention for a second? I hope you're enjoying the conversation. We're a new podcast and we're growing pretty fast, so thank you everybody for listening and watching. Can I ask you to subscribe or press like on whatever platform you're listening or watching this to, because that helps us to keep growing, and then it helps us to give us shows like this. Back to the episode. Can I switch to a different topic? That's the topic of friendship. I'm going to read you something from your book.
Okay.
I'm not sure if anyone has ever read your book to you.
No, never.
This is a first, right. You're talking about how friendships decline unintentionally over the course of our life. He said many friendships naturally dissipate over time. So many significant life events happen during adulthood that by the time we reach middle age, we can have but a handful of friends left. But he said, it's the stripping away of friendships that have run their course. Middle agers can feel stuck in a kind of friendship limbo. Yet ultimately, we all want our friendships to be a positive, fulfilling and real. And that really struck me on many, many levels. The question I want to come to is, there's been a lot of research around why men find it difficult to make friends in midlife. Whereas women seem to be far better at that. And a lot of middle-aged men tend to rely on their partners, friends.
Yes.
Now, given what you said here about that ultimately everybody wants friendships to be positive, fulfilling and real, what do you see about men and friendships, and what do you, if you do, how do you help men to think about friendships?
Yes, it is so common, and I've had so many conversations with men. Even today I've got lots of friends, like male friends, that say I've got more female friends than I have male friends. But I think there's this disconnect, isn't there, between how men really feel and what they want to say and how they want to connect, but society hasn't been ready. So that deeper level of connection that they need to be friends at a deeper level than just these surface connections, they don't feel safe enough to do it yet, because society's told them for so long, don't cry, don't be vulnerable, we don't want to hear that. So how can you connect if you're just on this surface level? Women wouldn't connect like that if they couldn't go a little bit deeper than this happened today and that happened today and they won that footy game. We wouldn't be able to get to that level of deeper connection and support if we talked like that. But we've been kind of told we can do that. If we do too much of it, then we're dramatic, of course. So that's another conversation. But we've been allowed a bit of a sweet spot where I don't think men have. It's getting better, but I think men are a lot deeper than society has told them they are.
How do we learn emotions? And what I mean by that is, someone said to me recently that one of the biggest benefits they got from being part of a men's table group was, they said, in my life, colour used to be black and white. Now I've realised it's all rainbow. Which is a beautiful way of going, I've learned a lot about how to express myself, and I never knew that. But for someone listening today who's going, I like what you're saying, Marny, but in terms of I want to feel, but feel what? Like how do I learn that? Describe that.
When I'm teaching people, say, how to communicate with people, like say, for example, setting boundaries, and often when we're setting boundaries, we start with I feel, don't we? But many people can't articulate how they feel. So I say to people, just say whatever words you want. You don't have to say, I'm feeling frustrated because this is happening and this is what I need. You can actually say I'm feeling something and I can't quite pinpoint what it is, or use other descriptive words or other adjectives, whatever it might be. It might be a colour, or I'm feeling really low, or I'm feeling really confused. I feel this in my body and I know it's telling me something, but I don't know what it is. So you can start a conversation like that. Just be real. The more real we are as a human being, particularly in 2026 and beyond, and be imperfect in how you describe how you're feeling and why you're feeling like that, I think the better.
My daughter, who's now 25, once said to me when she was about, I don't know, I'm guessing 7 or 8, she goes, Dad, you feel like a hedgehog. And I was, what? What? She goes, well, every time I come close to you, it's pretty sore.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really interesting way to describe. So, I mean, I now understand what she was saying. So you're not grumpy, you're really edgy. Yeah. I now understand that.
Exactly.
But to your point about you don't have to use an emotional word to describe something, it's a really lovely access to the conversation.
Well, exactly, yeah. Because we put so much pressure on ourselves to be able to articulate ourselves in a way that we think other people are going to understand us. And I think, you know, particularly in a day where there's so many motivational speakers and, you know, they all have the gift of the gab, sometimes I think we need to sound like them when we communicate to other people how we feel. But human beings aren't motivational speakers. They're not inspirational speakers. They're just human. Yeah. And I think however you put your words together and you get it out and you share, even if you don't know what you're saying, then it's better out, isn't it? And then once it's out, then we can work with it. We can do something with it.
That means you're in a conversation then. You're in a dialogue with somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're with another real person who is holding space for how you're feeling and you feel comfortable, they'll ask you questions, you know? If they're actively listening to you and repeating back some of the things that you said to check in if that's, you know, what they're hearing, and they ask you questions and they're curious and they're inquisitive, you'll get there in the end. And in fact, it will be so helpful not only to get it out, because it's very cathartic, isn't it, to talk. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect in what you're saying, but it's so nice to get it out. And I think we all know what it feels like when we walk away from, you know, a really great person that we've talked, and we feel lighter. Yeah. Don't we?
And heard.
Oh my gosh, and validated. We feel like it's so different to other times where we walk away feeling heavier or like nothing's shifted. So, and that's even when a person hasn't solved our problems at all. They've just heard us, haven't they? And listened. And it's, yeah.
Your framework, which I really appreciate, is the outcome of moving from crisis to contentment is emerging wisdom. Like you learn.
Yes.
You learn about yourself. You learn about how not to fall back in that crisis again, hopefully.
Yes.
Or at least to recognize the symptoms before they overtake you in terms of burnout. For the guy listening to this today, he's going, that sounds fine, but I'm not sure I can outrun this feeling. I'm not sure I can, this is overwhelming me. Yeah. I'm not sure I want to put the effort in because it's just too hard.
Yeah.
How do we help that person to see the other side of this wall that you can't see over it? That's a good place to be.
Yeah. I think it really starts with just talking about it, don't you think? Because again, it's so cathartic to be able to share it, how you're feeling, and be validated about it. Like, don't worry about the problem solving part of it yet. You know, it needs to come out first and foremost. So it's almost like, you know, where we talked about kind of that despair. You know, despair comes when we feel like we're in that pit,
the bottom of the U.
Yeah. And it's almost like before we come to any solutions or help grab you out of it, let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on in your life without any sort of judgment, with, you know, unconditional positive regard, just with safety and support and compassion. It's amazing what happens when people feel heard. So I think it is just talking about it first without the pressure to solve or fix straight away. Which
is really interesting for we men, if I could say, given I'm one of them, because our part of our natural disposition, or at least part of the disposition we've been told we should have, is to solve problems.
It is.
But what you're saying is, don't worry about the solving part yet.
No.
Just talk first to understand what the problem might be.
Exactly. Because there's always a story behind the story. You know how I was saying sometimes people will see me and there's a presenting issue, but then unless they talk about that, we're not going to know what's behind that and what's behind that and what's behind that. But if I sit there and just talk about the presenting problem and say, okay, well, if you go do this, this and this, then it's fine. Off you go. then that person's, it's not going to be solved. So let's talk about all of it without any sort of pressure or framework or anything.
Yeah.
And let's just see where we go.
When I first came across you as Crash the Contentment, you've just, or about to just release a new book called Only You, The Unexpected Gift of Being Alone,
Yes.
which I read over the weekend, so thank you for that. And what I loved about this, same as your other book, is you wrote this almost for yourself. Or at least a postcard to where you are.
Yes.
Is how I took from it, which
Yes.
is where you are in your other book too. So
Yes.
it's a lovely evolution.
Yes.
What's the version of you that existed before you kind of felt, am I alone? Am I not alone? Where am I? Am I okay to be alone? Do I want to be alone? What's that about?
Exactly. I was probably like a lot of people in society. Like, society has told us that we should be coupled up, that we shouldn't be alone, that being single is something to fix. So I was probably like a lot of people who came out of a relationship and were like, I must get into another one. And, I was getting set up by friends and going out on dates and all the things that you're supposed to do. So that was probably me, much like a lot of the clients that I was working with at the time, is that I see them, finish a relationship or have a broken heart and straight away kind of skip over the gap of being single and not spend time in it and just go out dating, looking for another person. So that was probably me doing exactly that. And then I went,
And you did
hang on.
it because you thought you should do it, or your friends thought you should do it, or you didn't want to be alone and therefore this is the way to do it, or what?
I don't think there was much deeper thinking involved apart from, I don't have a partner now, so I probably need to get another one. And that's probably just conditioned from not only friends, because friends, they set you up pretty quickly, straight away. There's not even a moment.
Now that you're on the market, let's go. That bus is gone.
Yeah, don't worry, you won't be single for very long, or, get back on the horse, or all the things that we're told that come from family, friends. But that's from wider society.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people see singledom as something to fix, and that it's just a temporary little state where you might be a little bit sad, you might be nursing a broken heart, but, let's get you back on Bumble or Tinder or RSVP or whatever it is and get you straight out there. And, I might have a handsome friend I can set you up with. So, and I didn't really think much of it. So that was probably me just doing what society has told me to do until I started thinking a little bit different. So parallel to me going through singledom and the trials and tribulations of that, I was working with clients as well who were jumping from one relationship to the other. But what I noticed, and this is why I really wanted to write this book for a very long time, is that I was becoming increasingly happy being by myself, and my clients were still, not happy and were jumping one relationship and, going out with the same sort of person. My friends as well were doing the same thing. And I thought, I've got something here. Why am I content and why are others not?
Well, the way you describe it in the book, you sound deliciously content doing all the things that you do for you.
Well, exactly. And I do have this thing where people set me up with people and I say, is he better than my solitude? And if he's not, then they know.
I think, to be fair, Marny, in your book you quote and you reference a range of different handsome actors, right?
I do. But and my point in doing that is to say I'm not like this cold-hearted woman out there, but I'm actually a romantic. So I'm creating this life that is very fulfilling for myself, that ticks so many other boxes of living a holistic life. And nurturing all parts of that. And having a partner is one small part of that. It's as equally as important as my relationship with my kids and my beautiful friends and my career and long walks down the beach with my dog and all the things that I love doing. All of that is as important as meeting someone. I just want someone to be a bonus to my life. So I really wanted to write about that, but also base it on evidence, because I'm a mental health professional, I'm a social scientist, I have to be a bit researchy about this as well.
on a serious note, though, what I took from your book here was the huge value and the benefit to your holistic life by choosing, rather than just going on a hamster wheel to date because other people think you should.
Exactly.
Now, I know from this podcast, the most listened to topics around relationships, midlife,
Yes.
breaking up, restarting, navigating. So for the people listening to this who are in the process of breaking up or starting again, who might be about to rush off
Yes.
and go on Tinder, Bumble and whatever else, what do you want to say to them in terms of your experience is this value in waiting? Why is the value?
Exactly. Yeah. I say to people, stop. It's another one. Stop. We're so conditioned, aren't we, to jump out of uncomfortable moments really quickly. And if something's emotionally painful, we just want to distract ourselves really quickly or sweep it under the rug and just get on with it. And I think we're more susceptible to do that now that we live in such a modern, fast-paced world that we live in. And I just say to people, stop. Just be mindful, just stop, don't rush out of it. Because particularly with, say, the emotion of lonely, it's telling you something, isn't it? It's telling you that there's a disconnection of sorts. But it doesn't mean a disconnection because I don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It might mean you're disconnected from your community. It might be you're disconnected from your work. It might be you're disconnected with your friends. It might mean, you might be disconnected from you. Because how many people lose themselves in a relationship? So that's what I want people to do, is to kind of go, I'm feeling lonely. And instead of just scrolling on your phone or getting straight onto an online dating site, sit in the loneliness and ask yourself, what is that really about? And most people realise that they've actually disconnected from themselves for a very long time. So that's what the book's about, is how to kind of reconnect with you and find yourself again and, dust off and empty the emotional baggage from the past and what other people have, done to you, or, old patterns that you've been, following all these years. Like, unravel all of that and find yourself again. And, whether you end up being content single or whether you find someone else, you're actually going to be a better version of yourself as a result of that.
But find the contentment. That's what you're saying, is
Exactly.
The contentment is the important thing.
It is. Lonely is an important emotion, but don't dismiss it. Ask yourself why you're feeling like that and what you actually need. And that solitude, that time by yourself, can actually often give you those answers.
I love what you just said. Loneliness is the emotion to listen to.
Yeah.
Because we have, like words like lone wolf and spinster and be alone, and they're all suggesting that being alone is wrong.
Yes.
What you're suggesting, actually, the emotion is giving you a signal that you're alone from something. It may not be somebody else, it's from something.
Exactly. And emotions are chemical messengers, aren't they? They're telling us something about our environment and our place in it, what's working, what isn't. And we just brush it aside too much and we slip out of it rather than having a bit of a self-inquiry about why am I feeling like this? What's it really about? Because if we don't really think deeper about it, we will just go with what society has told us, which is you don't have a partner, you've just broken up with someone.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you, maybe, you need to go and travel for a while, or maybe, you need to hang out with long-lost friends that you've been disconnected with for a long time. Maybe you just need to take more time out with your dog. Just find yourself again.
I had a very, very wise friend tell me something similar when I went through a divorce.
Yes.
And then and my kids were with me half and half.
Yes.
And I was so lonely without them when they weren't there.
Yes.
And also maybe a tad guilty, I suspect, in hindsight.
Yes.
My friend said to me, when they're with you, like, really, really enjoy your time together.
Yes.
And then make sure that they have the space to enjoy their time with their mom. So that was good advice.
Yes.
But the second advice, which is what you're talking about, is make sure you remember what you used to love doing before you got married.
Yes.
See if you still like it.
Exactly.
Discover new things.
Yeah.
And it took me, I have to say, maybe 4 or 5 months to allow myself to do it.
Yeah.
But realizing that I love reading books in coffee shops was something I had completely forgotten about.
Yes.
And I refound in 2010, 2011, and I think I would spend 3 days a week, every week, ever since, doing that. It's got nothing to do with being somebody else, just going, I love this. This is for me. Exactly.
And the thing, the byproduct of living a life like that, and I say this to my clients all the time, like know thyself, like learn who you are and what you like and what you don't like without the influence of other people, because sometimes we morph into a person that we're going out with. Sometimes we end up looking like them even.
Yeah, that's right.
So don't we?
Yeah.
But use that time to find who you are, and a byproduct of that is you're going to be a better version of yourself, and you'll probably end up meeting someone. You'll end up meeting someone at a coffee shop, or if you've joined a golf club, or if you've started a course, or you're happy in your career, because you're a bit more, the inner glowing is happening because you're content. You're probably more likely to meet someone eventually. And if you don't, then at least you're content being by yourself.
And your contentment is coming from what you want to do, not trying to source it from somebody else.
Well, exactly. And I think people rush too quickly in trying to find themselves in other people rather than themselves first. So there's
what does contentment on a Tuesday morning look like for you?
Me?
Or a Thursday morning or a Sunday afternoon?
Yes. I want to live in a slower way. I think I spent too long being too quick and fast and busy and all those sorts of things that I think modern society almost tells us we should wear as a badge of honour. And I think I did that too long. I lived in that hustle, entrepreneur kind of mode. And there's almost a visceral level of rejection that I have with that now. So if someone rushes me too quickly or, pushes me too much with demands, I actually feel it's almost like a PTSD type feeling, like my body and my mind just don't want that anymore. So my Tuesday mornings and my Thursday mornings is very I'm very proactive rather than reactive these days, and it's long dog walks and just taking my time with things and lots of stretching. I'm getting older. I wrote a book on midlife. I'm sore when I wake up in the morning. So I really want to take time to look after my body and be a bit slower and just live a little bit more mindfully these days than I probably did 10 years ago.
And what's the outcome for you with that?
Peace. Probably peace and contentment, yeah. And I get to spend more time reflecting, and it's good for the writing as well. You can be more creative when you're not stressed and busy all the time. You can think more, which is nice.
I think you are, I'm counting my head here, I think you might be the 5th person on this podcast in the last 3 or 4 months to say the most important thing in midlife is try and source peace.
Yes.
Whatever way you can.
Yeah, because life throws you the opposite of that. And so I have to create my own peace, because life will always throw things at all of us. And that's why I said I don't want to be in a reactive mode all the time. And part of that is being really proactive with the rituals I put in place and be really disciplined with them, because I just want calm, peace, contentment. No drama.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Can I just pause this conversation for a second? A lot of our listeners tell me they really love the episode and they get a lot of value from it. They're just not quite sure what to do with it. So what I have done is record a 10-minute episode. It goes out a couple of days later with a couple of key actions that will absolutely work, and the research behind them to tell you why they'll work. All you got to do is execute. Can't be simpler than that. So have a listen to the episode. It comes out a couple of days later, and let us know which ones you're doing and how they're working for you. Back to the conversation. Let me tap into your huge clinical and mental health background.
Yes.
So imagine someone comes to you, a middle-aged man comes to you, I've only got 15 minutes.
Yes.
Don't necessarily want you to be my therapist, but I would like to tap into all your wisdom.
Yes.
Based upon everything you've seen and heard in your career and all the people you've helped and all the books you've written and all the TV shows you've been on and radio shows you've been on. Give me your wisdom. What should I need to know at this age of my life?
Gosh. That's a really hard question, isn't it? Because there's so much you need to know. But I would say, grab a backpack and go away by yourself and just travel for a while. A couple of weeks. Just grab a backpack and go away. Listen to yourself. Talk to other people. Have time by yourself. Be in nature. Look out at beautiful sights with awe and spend time with yourself without the influence of other people.
Bring your phone or not bring your phone?
Don't bring your phone. Okay. No phone. You can have it for 5 minutes at the end of the day to talk to your loved ones, but no scrolling.
So it's an old Nokia 870. Right?
Yeah, the big ones.
Would you go and live in a house full of New Zealanders, which I think you might have done once?
I did. That was chaos.
Right. But you're saying take yourself away.
Take
have
yourself
a sabbatical.
away, yeah. Because what's better than that? Being by yourself, away from your normal day-to-day life, away from your car, away from the same route you take every day, around from the same conversations that you normally have with people, the same TV you watch every night, away from your laptop, away from the phone that you scroll on, and just be out in nature and walk and just have none of your stuff except for your backpack. Get your jocks and your socks in there and just be.
What would you expect to happen at the end of it?
A lot of reflection and the time to tap into the wisdom that's actually inside of you that you've probably not had time to listen to for a very long time. And that a lot of that will give you some answers about what's next.
I said up front that I really want to hear because you bring so much wisdom to the table, and you have already. What question have I not asked you that would be really worthwhile exploring?
Oh, maybe you need to ask me, am I going to write another book?
What's your next book, Marny?
The beautiful thing about writing books that I've loved mostly is the storytelling. Mm. So I don't know what I'm going to write about next. I actually would love to shift to fiction. I was very vulnerable, as you probably have read, which may be a little bit uncomfortable. I've got a bit of a vulnerability hangover, particularly from Only You, the last book. But there's something beautiful about fiction books, isn't there, in that you can be sometimes a bit braver with a character or a protagonist. And we can call, the protagonist of the next book Mary and not Marny, where I probably can go a little bit deeper into things that I probably wasn't comfortable with.
I ask this question of everybody I meet, so please let me ask it of you. What would the 75-year-old version of you be asking of you or be telling you if they could talk to you today?
Oh, just be brave, Just be courageous. If you've got a bit of a hunch about what the right thing to do is, just do it. Don't, life's short. Don't waste it being scared and anxious about things. Yeah.
Fantastic. You've shared a lot of wisdom with us today. I really appreciate you joining us, Marny. What are your last words of wisdom for our listeners?
Just listen to yourself. You've got more answers inside of you than you think you have. So just tap into that.
Marny Lishman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe or like on any platform that you're watching and listening to. It means a lot to us. If you have any comments, please drop them into the comment section. Of course, share this episode with your friends. We know they love that. And in the meantime, don't let the old man in.